The way I took Ayola in the very beginning started in a different way, slightly. Every time we meet with a client, by definition, we're going to be exposed to a tremendous amount of critical human intelligence. Client needs, competitors, pricing, etc. Everyone that I share that stuff with him or with her to say, yeah, absolutely. And then ask yourself a question, how much of that is actually being captured? And they're all going to scratch their head and say very little. And, CRM's been around the world since 1999, amazing commercial success operationally. Michael, I haven't found a single guy to say, oh my God, Michael, I'm so excited when I log into Salesforce or HubSpot or anybody else. You do it because you have to, not because you want to. You treat it as a chore, unfortunately, and therefore it's reflected in the quantity, time.
Amir Haramaty, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. I'm so excited to have you here. We're going to have so much fun over these next 20 minutes talking about your own incredible journey, having been a really big part of some of the most impressive and, I guess, proud companies in the Israeli ecosystem that I grew up, learning about and thinking through what it must be like to be part of them. And today you're also the CEO of Ayola, which has made a lot of noise, especially recently, with your work around language and speech and how they translate, no pun intended, to organizations and enterprises. So a lot for us to uncover. Amir, tell me a little bit about yourself, because you mentioned something interesting to me, that you don't see yourself as a serial entrepreneur, but rather something else.
Yes, so thank you again, Michael, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and having fun. Having fun in everything we do. It's the name of the game. So if we fail to do so, we're in the wrong business.
Absolutely.
Actually, some people like to call me serial entrepreneur. I don't take that as a great compliment. I'd rather be called as a serial problem solver, because one of the things I constantly do, and the more I do, the hungrier I get. And I can assure you I'm going to make less mistakes. I'm going to make some new mistakes, but you know how to do things better and more efficient. But the key there is to find some fundamental problem that's touching a lot of people's life, that if you can solve or do it better or smarter, it's really going to make an impact in a way you can quantify it very, very quickly. I always joke that the three letters that I love the most in the English language is RONI. And if you can quantify it and demonstrate it, and again, it's a cheesy way to do it, but the key there is it's not about the technology, no disrespect to the great technology. It's about the value you generate as long as you can quantify and demonstrate it.
Absolutely.
And that's...
Give me, three, big problems that you're really excited about. So when you say that, you really put in the problem at the center, that's challenging, building a great team around it. What are some examples of these types of problems that get you really excited?
So the key there, I've been involved in cyber, I've been involved in big data, I've been involved in many different areas. I've been fortunate enough to be the global head of sales for Mobi that we eventually sold to Singtel and a significant exit back in 2012. I've been lucky enough to be associated with Onavo that eventually was sold to Facebook. I was involved with Mintigo that was eventually sold to Anaplan. I was the COO of Adalog that was sold to Microsoft. And so I've been lucky enough to be around great people, solving amazing problems and demonstrating value for investors and buyers. And eventually I got deep into the AI business long before A and I became the most used and abused letters in English language at present time. And the way I've done it initially was an amazing journey, because we were the AI platform of choice of one of the largest management consulting companies in the world. So over there in 6 years time span, I had a chance to be part of triple-digit engagements with the Fortune 500 companies. So you can imagine that one of every five C-level executive I had a chance with the management consulting company to be part of. And I learned a lot of things what to do and a lot of things to do differently. And the first thing I learned, while I'm a disruptor and I enjoy very much to disrupt, it took me maybe too long to realize that most people in the world don't like to be disrupted. And that's when you eat a little, you need to eat a little bit of a humble pie. My mother always told me, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Try to keep that proportion. Okay, listen more. And I'm still working on that. But the key there, I'll give you an example. Last week, I was in Vegas in one of the largest hotels, 7,100 rooms. And I was meeting with the head of maintenance. And that head of maintenance came with the furniture. Okay, he started with this organization when it was a hole in the ground. And I saw him immediately when they presented me talking about AI, and I can see the fear in his and the rejection in his eyes. And I started, Jim, how long have you been here? He said, since 1997. I said, okay, one thing for sure, I'm never going to learn what you already forgot about your business. So I'm not here to tell you what you're doing wrong. I'm here to help you do what you do better and smarter and safer. And this is a part of the learning that really got me to understand that when I'm trying to solve problems, not to disrupt, is to augment, to enhance in the most non-threatening way. Because at the end of the day, success breeds success. And if you can show those people that the technology is there, not for technology's sake, but in order to help them to do things better, that's really led me to what I'm doing over here.
Incredible. Okay, so walk me through Ayola and how is Ayola's space and technology improving and empowering?
So actually, Ayola, the way I took Ayola in the very beginning started in a different way, slightly. Every time we meet with a client, by definition, we're going to be exposed to a tremendous amount of critical human intelligence. Client needs, competitors, pricing, etc. Everyone that I share that stuff with him or with her, to say, yeah, absolutely. And then ask yourself a question, how much of that is actually being captured? And they're all going to scratch their head and say very little. And, CRM's been around the world since 1999, amazing commercial success operationally. Michael, I haven't found a single guy to say, oh my God, Michael, I'm so excited when I log into Salesforce or HubSpot or anybody else. You do it because you have to, not because you want to. You treat it as a chore, unfortunately, and therefore it's reflected in the quality, quantity, timing. And I say, what if just finished a meeting with Michael and I learned that he splits his time half and half, where he's serving in the military, he just got an amazing term sheets behind him, etc., etc. While I'm walking to the elevator in natural language, I can tell Ayola what I just learned. And Ayola will grab it and automatically integrate it to the CRM of choice. In the name Ayola, AI, OLA, the most important letter is not A or I, it's actually the O, and it's not an O. It's a fat intelligence loop of collecting, integrating, processing, delivering, post-meeting collection, pre-meeting preparation. And with that in mind, I got incredible investors that put some good money as a seed round. And within several months, I had $3-4 million of ARR with Fortune 50, Fortune 100, Fortune 500. Amazing. And then February 24, 22, the war in Europe started. And even before the craziness in our neighborhood, I realized that we are arguably facing one of the biggest perfect storm in modern history. The combination of geopolitical and macroeconomical elements are forcing a situation when people are going to make a clear separation between what's perceived to be nice to have versus must have. Whatever is nice to have, forget about it. I don't have time for cosmetic surgery. I have to stay alive. And then, in psychology, there's the Maslow pyramid of needs. So I created Ayola. From Ayola's perspective, doesn't matter what's going on in the world, which are the verticals which are immune. So it doesn't matter what's going on in the world, we have to eat. The food industry. It doesn't matter the pharma industry, supply chain, energy, semiconductor. It's easy to identify 5 or 6 verticals. And as much as I'm very proud of what we have done in a post-meeting collection, pre-meeting preparation, I thought we may be perceived, rightly or wrongly, but perception is reality, if you like it or not, as nice to have. And before it's going to hit the fan, I decided on my own to call it a pivot, call it whatever you want, but to take our technology and apply it to the following blueprint. Must-have verticals, critical processes where you can demonstrate quantifiable ROI at scale. That's it. So I pick up the phone and I call a Fortune 60 company that I know very well from my management consulting days. And I say, it's a Fortune 60 company, food manufacturer. When you start your day, you just flip a button and start production. So of course not. I have to complete this highly regulatory pre-op inspection. Fast forward, there's a 20 pages process manually done every morning at 4:30 in the morning that keeps production idle for 2 hours. And I said, whoa, what if we're going to turn the entire process to speech-based, hands-free, paperless? They're going to walk and talk and the forms are going to be filled. It's going to be way more efficient, smarter, safer, collaborative. Decided to do a pilot. Decided to use ASR, automatic speech recognition, which is not new, off the shelf. Took the recording from Australia. That's where we piloted. And I was super disappointed to find out that the maximum accuracy I got was 52%. So first I thought maybe it's the Aussie accent. It didn't help, but that was not the reason. Second, the acoustic environment, solvable. Turns out that more than 50% of the language used was not English, was jargon of the specific industry, specific location. And in fairness, there's no technology off the shelf that can deal with that. So I realized there's a huge problem, an even bigger opportunity. So we realize that jargon is a key blocker, number one. And second is the fact that I don't want to talk about football or basketball or the playoffs or anything else. I want to be automatically to pull out the keywords which are relevant. Now, speech, by definition, is the most efficient and natural means of communication. Everybody agrees. And eventually, voice first will be the human-machine interface. But it's not there because the quality, the accuracy right now is sub 60%. So I came with that concept, was able to raise a $25 million A round in January 23, which was a significant achievement by itself, but very good investors. Hamilton Lane, which is a fund of funds, managing $903 billion, made a huge exception to lead ours. And we had a massive breakthrough in technology in January, wrote several patents and IP, and took 9 months to develop the product. The product was launched in September 23. You know what happened in October, but that's not an excuse. And what we have done is we took the jargon that we created an incredible, and you saw the VentureBeat article last week, and the keyword spotting. But more than that, we combine it to a very unique way to do that, because at the end of the day, what we're doing right now, with LLMs, you're boiling the ocean in brute force, and then you're trying to go to something very narrow. And in Hebrew, we do everything from the wrong direction. We speak from the wrong direction. We read from the wrong direction. One day I'm looking at my coffee and I say, why do I need to boil the ocean in order to make coffee? So I pulled Professor Keshet, my chief scientist, who used to be the head of speech research at Alexa at Amazon. And I called Yossi and I said, Yossi, how much data do you need in order to create the language model? And he said, no, for a specific form. So here's a great example for one of the largest tire manufacturers in the world in Korea. When I demonstrated to him our ability to do it in 95% accuracy versus the 58% that he saw until now, he was blown away. But then he asked me, how much data do you need in order to generate the model? I said, actually, all I need is one form in Korean. That's it. And actually, then we take in Gen AI and we generated millions of synthetic samples. And we built a platform that called Jargonic, which is trademarked, that actually I can now tailor a specific micro language model for a specific form or work process in a language I don't understand, in a domain I know nothing about, with accuracy north of 95% in a few hours. And I don't care, one of the largest shipping companies that deliver packages to your home came to me and said, we have more than 100,000 vehicles. Every vehicle every morning has to go to they call it, it's a very ambitious name, 60 seconds quick look audit. It's a 40-point checklist. And I asked them two simple questions. Is one, where's the data going to? Nowhere. Second, I know it sounds stupid, but how long does it take you to do the so-called 60 seconds quick look audit? And they laughed and said 15 to 20 minutes. And now they're doing the entire process by speech in 52 seconds or less. So we're saving more than 15 minutes per vehicle times 100,000 per day. And in addition, now the data is streaming for 100,000 vehicles, and now you know how the tires behave in Miami versus how they behave in Toronto, Canada. And then came the other big courier company and they say, by the way, we're more interested in NPS and customer satisfaction. And if today you're getting a package which was damaged, you got your term sheet and it was raining in Palo Alto and the paper was damaged, and you're telling the courier what just happened. They say, I apologize, please go online and file a report, which is a black hole. He asked me a question, can you open up a ticket by speech? I said, sure. Can you do it in Mandarin because we want to demo it in Singapore? I said, I think so. Can you integrate to Pega? No disrespect, I had no idea what Pega is, and then I checked, it's a very respectable company with backend system for CRMs. 10 days later, the entire process in Mandarin for that specific courier, done by speech, fully integrated to Pega. And then came one. So in a very short period of time, what we have done, we built some bleeding edge technology when taking care and addressing the challenges of speech, which is the most natural means of communication and eventually every human machine interface. In one end, we have the bleeding edge technology. On the other end, any Android or iOS device. So onboarding can be minutes or hours. I play nice so I can integrate to whatever you have in place. And at the end, I'm stupid as it gets. I know nothing about any vertical. But I have the same platform used right now by French-Canadian supermarket chain in Montreal. They're doing the mandatory temperature check of the meat inside the refrigerator by speech in French Canadian. That feature alone saves them more than 110,000 hours a year. That little feature. And I'm doing that right now for a cruise ship. They're doing the safety checklist for the ship before they leave the port by speech. And I'm doing now to big pharma to do it for quality. So I'm like a kid in a toy store, going back to your question in the beginning, took a massive problem, find a clever way to address it, to make it real simple, real flat, and now it's down to execution.
So then it sounds like this big problem that you're talking about is so fundamental that above it, you can then identify a bunch of really cool, nifty problems that take hundreds of thousand hours for an organization, and then be able to leverage that clever technique, which it doesn't sound simple at all. I mean, effectively, you're saying the technology you've built is able to fine tune based on very small amount of data because you're able to generate a good enough data set to reach high enough accuracy for a good user experience. That's not trivial at all.
Absolutely, and if, I did this service, and I downplayed the level of complexity behind the scene, but you're absolutely right. But the beauty of it, put it on top of it, Michael, everything you say is absolutely right in a non-threatening way, because at the end of the day, it's change management. You're dealing with people. And I love the fact, one of the largest VCs in Silicon Valley came to me and said, Amir, we invested heavily in AI companies in the last 5 years, but most, if not all, were tech startups that were selling to tech startups. And you're actually going after those big elephants, big enterprises. Wow, Amir, you found a blue ocean. I said, first, thank you for the compliment. One, I don't think I deserve it. Second, I don't think it's a blue ocean, because a blue ocean, it's somewhere that all of us are running to. And here, those are type of industries that nobody was even looking at. It's huge, but it's not blue ocean. It's a yellow desert that desperately looking for the drip irrigation to turn yellow to green. And as soon as I finish that conversation, I print a T-shirt for the entire company that says on the back, "Evergreen in the yellow desert." But I love the junction where the most advanced technology is meeting traditional companies. And you can imagine that in every boardroom right now, there's a question is, what are you guys doing with AI? And the hype, and again, and rightly so, the hype that took place in the last 18, 24 months about Gen AI, it's incredible. But the hype is gone, and now everybody's looking for practical Gen AI. How this is going to meet my bottom line. And if I'm saving 110,000 hours for a supermarket chain with the margins of 4%, because that's a margin in the supermarket business, this is going directly to the EBITDA. This can be quantifiable. I met many cybersecurity companies, and I work in some, and ask investors, how do you quantify ROI for cyber? So fear factor, insurance, or whatever you want to call it. But I love the direct line. And, in many situations, I'm sitting with potential clients, and I show them the technology, and they get very excited. But at the same time, this is amazing. How much it cost? And then I smile, and I say, I don't care. Of course I care. But I'm not chasing price. I'm chasing value. And it's not me versus you. It's you and me together chasing value. If there's no value to be generated, I don't want your money. I don't want to waste my time. But if there's value to be generated, let's do it right. And that's a journey. So when I started with this courier company, we started with a single use case. Now we identified 31 use cases, from automation to aviation to sorting facilities. And it's endless. I'm talking right now to even to those big hotels in Vegas, and you're talking from 7,000 rooms when you have the housekeeping defects, and you have the modern day Tower of Babylon. So many languages, and they don't really fill any forms. And now they can do the checklist at the end of every room and speak it in fluent Armenian or Yiddish, or whatever language of choice, and the form will be filled in line. And then it turns out that I'd have to inspect the water coolers and the chillers and the heat pumps in every shift. And you can do it by speech, and it's going to save them more than half of the time. But now the data is going to be captured, so you can do now predictive maintenance and do the procurement based on it. And then we found out that every slot machine needs to be inspected multiple times a day. And every time I go to meet with a client, it's unbelievable. Like, I was meeting with a major client the other day, and he say, look at each other and say, warranties. I say, what do you mean warranties? He say, well, we have a fleet of hundreds of thousand vehicles, and let's assume that this vehicle right now is broken, and we need to replace the alternator. We're going to do it in the field, but the technician is never going to take the time to go back to the office and log into information to activate the warranties. We're losing tens of millions of dollars and unactivated warranties a year just because that information is not being submitted. Now, but if I'm doing a by speech with IOLA, and take a picture and I put in numbers, I'm activating the warranty from the field while I'm doing it. So I love that journey, Michael, because yes, I'm solving a big problem that every day getting even bigger in direction I could never even imagine. The other day I had a very interesting conversation. We started talking to Oracle, and then I got an email telling me Larry is very eager to talk to you. And I was actually sitting in a bomb shelter in the north, and Larry Ellison jumped on a call. And I'm jumping, and amazing, by the way, what a privilege. And after talking for about 30 minutes, Amir, this is amazing. He's very passionate about healthcare. And I say, Amir, I would love to take you to healthcare. And I say, Larry, that's the only place I may respectfully disagree with you, because I'm looking for places where I can make the biggest impact at the shortest period of time with minimum obstacle possible. And arguably, it's not healthcare. But yet he wanted us to show something. So we took a process that Oracle Field Services is doing for home healthcare. And we took the entire process where the nurse comes to the patient house and checks the vitals and checks how mobile the person is and replace the oxygen and everything by speech. And everything is captured with 100% accuracy in real time and integrated. So it's an incredible journey that just started. I'm very proud of the breakthrough we have done with technology, but I'm even prouder how we took that technology breakthroughs and implement in a way that saves money and helps organizations to stay relevant and help organizations to do more with less and help organizations to maintain. I'm not here to upend society. I'm here to contribute. I'm here to complement. I'm here to enhance and augment.
Amir, what a journey. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I'm completely inspired by what you're doing, and more than the outcome of what you're doing, the motivation behind it and the why, and which obviously shows with I think it's such a privilege being able to take this breadth of experience that you've had and bringing it now to a world in which you have this cutting edge technology that is you're now able to implement it, and you, instead of fearing this blue ocean, you're actually looking at it as a yellow desert, but creating the greenery around it. And so really, really proud of this conversation and incredible work that you've done, Amir. So thank you so much for spending this time with me, and best of luck with Ayola. I'll keep cheering from the side.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.